Being dead was surprisingly boring, until I drifted into my arch-nemesis's bedroom and saw him shattering into a million pieces over my obituary photo. I hovered near the ceiling fan, a translucent spirit with nothing better to do than haunt the man who had made my college life a living hell. I had expected champagne corks to be popping. I expected Austin Sterling, the campus's coldest, most arrogant prime alpha, to be throwing a rager to celebrate the demise of Patrick O'Connell, the only Omega with the audacity to challenge him. Instead, the room smelled like distress, burnt cedar and ozone, thick enough to choke on even if I had lungs. Austin was slumped on the floor, surrounded by empty beer bottles, his usually pristine posture broken. He held a framed photo of me, stolen, I assumed, from the memorial service, and his shoulders were shaking. "Patrick," he choked out, his voice erect, gravelly mess. He brought the photo to his lips, pressing a trembling kiss against the glass. "God, Patrick." "What?" I stared, my ghostly jaw unhinged. "Holy shit," I whispered, though no sound came out. "He's crying?" Over me, Austin let out a low, wounded sound, something primal and terrifying, like a wolf howling at a moon that had gone dark forever. He traced the line of my jaw in the photo, his fingers shaking. "I never said it," he whispered to the empty room. "I never told you. I loved you. I always loved you." The shock hit me harder than the truck that had actually killed me. Anger flared bright and hot in my chest. I drifted down, trying to slap the back of his head. "You moron." I screamed at him, my hand passing harmlessly through his skull. "You didn't have a mouth? You couldn't use your words? What's the point of kissing a picture now? Were you mute before? You couldn't have grabbed me and kissed me when I was breathing? You useless, emotionally constipated alpha." He couldn't hear me. He just kept weeping, that scent of morning alpha filling the space, suffocating and tragic. "I wasted years fighting with you," I ranted, floating in front of his face, trying to poke his tear-stained cheek. "I spent my entire heat cycle alone in my dorm room because I thought you hated my guts. And you were pining? You absolute disaster of a human being." The room began to spin. The scent of burnt cedar faded, replaced by the screech of tires and a blinding white light. "No," I gasped, clawing at the air. "Wait, I'm not done yelling at him." The world tilted, twisted, and slammed back into focus. I gasped, my lungs filling with air that tasted like exhaust and street food. I stumbled, clutching my chest. The pain was gone. The floaty sensation was gone. I looked down at my hands. Solid. Warm. I checked my phone. The date glared back at me. 3 days ago. 3 days before the accident. "I'm back," I breathed, touching my face. Holy hell, I'm back. I stood on the sidewalk, pedestrians flowing around me, oblivious to the miracle that had just occurred. I had a second chance. I had a pulse. And I had a piece of information that changed absolutely everything. Austin Sterling was in love with me. A wicked grin spread across my face. "Okay then," I muttered, turning on my heel and marching toward the university district. "If you won't say it, Austin, I'm going to force it out of you." I didn't walk, I sprinted. I ran all the way to the luxury apartment complex where Austin lived, my heart hammering a frantic rhythm against my ribs. I didn't bother with the intercom. I tailgated a delivery guy in, took the stairs 2 at a time, and pounded on Austin's heavy oak door like the police. "Austin," I shouted. "I know you're in there. Open up." The door swung open almost immediately. Austin stood there, looking irritatingly perfect in gray sweatpants and a black t-shirt that clung to his broad shoulders. He looked confused, his eyebrows knitting together. "Patrick?" he asked, his deep voice rumbling. "It's late. What are you?" I didn't let him finish. I lunged. I grabbed the front of his shirt, shoved him backward, and slammed him against the hallway wall. Before he could process the assault, I stood on my tiptoes and crushed my mouth against his. It was messy and desperate and fueled by the adrenaline of resurrection. He froze, his muscles turning to stone under my hands. He tasted like mint and shock. For a second, he didn't move, his brain clearly short-circuiting. Then, the biology kicked in. I felt a low growl vibrate in his chest. His hands came up to push me away, but they faltered, resting on my waist instead. I took that as permission. I deepened the kiss, licking into his mouth, tasting him, demanding a response. My own pheromones, sweet vanilla and spice, flared uncontrollably, flooding the hallway. Austin gasped against my lips, his grip on my waist tightening painfully. For one glorious second, he kissed me back, hot and hungry. Then he ripped himself away. Patrick! He held me at arm's length, his chest heaving, his eyes blown wide and dark. What the hell is this? Is this a joke? I panted, wiping my mouth with the back of my hand. Do I look like I'm joking? I stepped forward, boxing him in. Do you want me, Austin? Because I'm right here. I'm yours. I leaned in and pressed a soft, lingering kiss to the sensitive skin just below his ear, right over his scent gland. He shuddered violently. Then, he grabbed my wrist, his grip like iron. His eyes were red-rimmed, furious and terrified. Is this another game? He snarled, his voice dropping an octave into his alpha register. You think it's funny to toy with me? Get out. Austin, wait, get out. He shoved me into the corridor and slammed the door in my face. The lock clicked with a finality that echoed in the empty hallway. I stood there, blinking at the wood grain. Well, I muttered, crossing my arms. That went poorly. I crouched down against his doorframe, resting my chin in my hands. He should have dragged me to the bedroom, I whispered to myself. He should have thrown me onto the mattress. Why didn't he? I literally threw myself at him. Then it hit me. We were enemies. To him, this was suspicious behavior. If my rival suddenly showed up and tongue-kissed me, I'd probably think it was a prank for TikTok too. Okay. I sighed, standing up and dusting off my jeans. Direct assault failed. Time for guerrilla warfare. I waited 10 minutes, messed up my hair to look pathetic, and knocked again. Softly this time. Austin, I called out, injecting a tremble into my voice. Please, open up. The door cracked open. Austin looked wary, his jaw set tight. What? The dorms are locked. I lied, giving him my best kicked puppy eyes. I forgot my keycard, and my roommate is out of town. I don't have my wallet for a hotel. I have nowhere to go. I hugged myself, shivering despite the warm hallway. Please don't make me sleep on a park bench. Austin stared at me. He knew I was lying. I knew he knew I was lying. But he was an alpha with a savior complex, and he was secretly in love with me. He sighed, a long, suffering sound, and stepped back. Come in. Thank you. I chirped, slipping inside before he could change his mind. You're a lifesaver. His apartment was painfully neat, smelling of him, that rich, woodsy scent that made my knees weak. There was one bed, a massive king-sized bed. I need a shower, I announced, turning to him with a shy smile. I feel gross. Can I borrow your bathroom? Austin looked like he wanted to jump out the window. Fine. Towels are under the sink. And maybe a shirt to sleep in. I bit my lip. I can't sleep in these jeans. They're tight. It's bad for circulation. He stared at the ceiling, praying for patience. Without a word, he marched to his dresser, pulled out a white t-shirt, and tossed it at me. Then, after a painful pause, he grabbed a small, unopened box from a drawer. Boxer briefs, he grunted, shoving them at me. New. Never worn. Thanks, roomie. I grabbed the loot and bolted for the bathroom. Under the hot spray of the shower, I scrubbed away the stress of dying and coming back to life. I felt alive. I felt electric. I dried off and pulled on his shirt. It was massive on me, the hem hitting mid-thigh, the neck hole slipping off one shoulder to reveal my collarbone. Perfect. I walked out, shaking my damp hair. Austin was sitting on the edge of the bed, pretending to read a textbook on structural engineering. He looked up, and his eyes instantly locked onto my exposed shoulder, then traveled down to my bare legs. His Adam's apple bobbed. He snapped his gaze back to the book so fast I worried he gave himself whiplash. Where do I sleep? I asked, padding over to the bed. Wherever, he croaked. It's a big bed. I crawled in, making sure to wiggle a bit, letting the sheets rustle. I lay on my side, facing him. He was stiff as a board, lying on the absolute edge of the mattress, leaving a demilitarized zone of empty space between us. Austin, I whispered into the dark after he turned off the lamp. Go to sleep, Patrick. You smell good. He didn't answer. I scooted an inch closer. Then another. I could feel the heat radiating off him. Austin, what? He snapped, his voice strained. Are you seeing anyone? No. Why not? You're a prime alpha. People throw themselves at you. Because they're annoying, he grumbled. Like you. I smiled into my pillow. I bet you're a good kisser. You know, when you're not panicking and throwing people into hallways. Patrick, he warned, a low growl threading through the name. Sleep. Or get out. I rolled over, turning my back to him, but I scowled in the darkness. He had cried over my dead body. He had kissed my photo. Why was he acting like a monk now that I was warm and breathing in his bed? I drifted off, dreaming of the past. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk in the dream, we were 7 years old. Austin lived next door. He was my best friend. We caught frogs and scraped our knees together. Then came high school. Then came Sarah. Sarah moved in across the street. She was pretty, sweet, and always hanging around Austin. Austin, can you help me with math? Austin, come watch me play volleyball. I watched them from my window, a bitter, twisting feeling in my gut that I didn't have a name for yet. I thought I hated her. I thought I hated him for replacing me. So, I became a brat. If I couldn't be his friend, I'd be his problem. Hey Austin. Dream Patrick sneered in the high school hallway. Nice haircut. Did you lose a bet with a lawnmower? Austin just looked at me, hurt flashing in his eyes before he masked it with indifference. Grow up, Patrick. Why don't you go cry to Sarah about it? I spat back. The dream shifted. I was screaming at him, telling him I hated him, that I never wanted to see him again. And he just took it. He always just took it. Asterisk, 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 I woke up wrapped around something warm and solid. My leg was thrown over Austin's hip, my face buried in his neck. I inhaled deeply, smelling sandalwood and sleep. Morning. A deep voice rumbled against my forehead. I froze, then pulled back slowly. Austin was awake, watching me with an unreadable expression. He didn't look angry. He looked resigned. Did you sleep well? I asked, batting my eyelashes. You kick, he said simply, rolling out of bed and heading for the bathroom. The next 2 days were a game of cat and mouse. I followed him to the library. I sat next to him in the cafeteria. I sent him texts that bordered on harassment. My heat is coming up next month. Recommending any good suppressants? Or maybe a substitute. Winky face. Austin, read your textbook, Patrick. I was getting nowhere. Direct seduction wasn't working. He had walls of steel. I needed backup. I cornered my roommate, Hunter, in our dorm. Hunter, I said, slamming my hands on his desk. I need advice. How do I get a guy to sleep with me? Hunter choked on his ramen. Excuse me? You? Patrick, I hate all alphas. O'Connell? Who is the unlucky victim? Austin Sterling. Hunter stared at me for a full minute. Then he burst out laughing. You're funny. Austin, your mortal enemy? The guy you threw a slushie at during freshman orientation. I'm serious, I said, grabbing his collar. I love him. And I know he loves me. But he's being stubborn and repressed and noble. I need to break him. Hunter wiped a tear from his eye. Okay. Look, if you're serious, you need to talk to Sophie. Sophie? The school beauty Sophie? The one who confessed to me 6 times. Yeah. She's got a lot of theories about you too. She writes fanfiction. It's extensive. I found Sophie in the quad. When I told her my plan, she didn't cry. She squealed. I knew it, she shrieked, clutching her pearls. I knew the sexual tension was real. The enemies to lovers arc is finally resolving. Focus, Sophie, I snapped. He's stonewalling me. I kissed him. I slept in his bed. Nothing. He treats me like fragile glass. It's because he treasures you, she swooned. He thinks you're straight, Patrick. He thinks you're just teasing him. You need to show him you're serious. You need to be vulnerable. Vulnerable how? Get drunk, she whispered conspiratorially. Not wasted, just loose. Go to him. Cry a little. Confess your undying love. Alphas can't resist a weepy, honest omega. That is manipulative and toxic, I said. I love it. That night, I downed 3 beers, enough to flush my cheeks but not enough to slur, and headed to Austin's apartment. I carried a small box with a single slice of cake in it. I waited until I saw his lights go on. Then I knocked. When he opened the door, I held up the cake. Happy birthday to me. I slurred slightly, swaying on my feet. Austin frowned. Your birthday is in October. It's September. I'm celebrating early. I pushed past him. Come on. Sing to me. He sighed, closing the door. You've been drinking. Just a little liquid courage. I set the cake on his coffee table and lit the single candle. Come on, Austin. Make a wish with me. He sat down on the sofa, looking weary. The candlelight flickered on his sharp cheekbones. What are you doing, Patrick? Why are you doing this? Because I want to spend my birthday with you, I said softly. I dipped my finger into the frosting and swiped a dollop onto the tip of his nose. He blinked, crossing his eyes to look at the white smear. Mature. You're too serious. I laughed, straddling his lap before he could protest. The air in the room shifted instantly. Heavy. Charged. Patrick, get off. His hands hovered over my hips, terrified to touch me. No. I licked the frosting off his nose. I felt his breath hitch. I want you, Austin. Why won't you believe me? Because you hate me, he gritted out. Because tomorrow you'll wake up sober and realize you hooked up with your enemy and you'll hate yourself. I don't hate you. I whispered, leaning my forehead against his. I was stupid. I was jealous. But I never hated you. I kissed him. This time, I didn't attack him. I kissed him slow and deep, pouring every ounce of longing I had into it. I ground down into his lap, letting him feel exactly how much I wanted him. A groan tore out of his throat. His resolve snapped. His arms wrapped around me, crushing me against his chest. He kissed me back with a ferocity that made my toes curl. His tongue swept into my mouth, claiming me, dominating me. It was everything I had dreamed of. His hand slid up my shirt, his rough palms skimming my spine. I arched into the touch, whimpering. Austin, I breathed against his lips. Please, take me to the bedroom. He froze. Abruptly, he shoved me back. He stood up, breathing hard, his chest heaving like he'd run a marathon. He turned his back to me, running a hand through his hair. No, he said, his voice shaking. I can't. Not like this. Not when you're drunk. I'm not that drunk. I yelled, frustration boiling over. I'm tipsy. There's a difference. I consent, Austin. I am consenting so hard right now. Go home, Patrick, he said to the wall. Please. Before I do something I can't take back. You coward. I screamed, grabbing my cake box and throwing it at his head. It bounced off his shoulder harmlessly. Fine. Stay here and be miserable. See if I care. I stormed out, slamming the door so hard the frame rattled. I marched down the street, furious tears stinging my eyes. Stupid, noble, idiotic alpha, I muttered, kicking a soda can. I'm trying to give him the love of his life, and he's worried about ethics. I reached the intersection. The same intersection. I stopped. The air felt colder. A familiar chill ran down my spine. I looked up. The pedestrian light was green. A little girl, maybe 5 years old, was chasing a ball into the crosswalk. To my left, headlights blinded me. A truck was speeding, running the red light. It was happening again. The exact same scenario. The universe was trying to correct the timeline. No, I whispered. I didn't think. I didn't weigh the pros and cons. I just moved. Move, I screamed, sprinting into the street. The little girl froze, staring at the headlights. I dove. I grabbed her around the waist and threw us both forward, tucking my body around hers as we hit the asphalt. Screech. The sound of rubber burning against pavement was deafening. The wind of the passing truck whipped my hair. I felt the heat of the engine as it missed us by inches. We tumbled across the rough road. My knees shredded against the gravel. My elbows slammed into the curb. Silence. Then, the wail of the child. Patrick. The scream was raw, terrifying. I looked up to see Austin sprinting toward me from the sidewalk. He must have followed me. He fell to his knees beside me, his face pale as a sheet. His hands hovered over me, shaking so badly he couldn't touch me. Patrick, he gasped, his eyes scanning me for blood. Patrick, talk to me. Are you okay? I'm okay. I wheezed, sitting up and wincing as my scraped knee protested. I'm fine. Just a scrape. The little girl's parents came running, sobbing, thanking me profusely. I waved them off, my focus entirely on the man kneeling in front of me. Austin looked like he was about to vomit. You could have died. Again. What? I blinked. Again. He froze, realizing what he'd said. He grabbed my shoulders, pulling me into a bone-crushing hug. He buried his face in my neck, inhaling deeply, frantically checking my scent for signs of death. I saw it, he whispered into my skin. I was watching from the window. The truck. It was so close. I'm alive, Austin, I soothed, stroking his hair. I'm right here. He pulled back, his expression shifting from fear to fury. What is wrong with you? Why do you have zero self-preservation instinct? Do you have any idea what it would do to me if? His voice broke. If what? I challenged softly. If I lost you, he whispered. He scooped me up into his arms, bridal style, ignoring my protests. He carried me back to his apartment in silence, his jaw locked tight. He deposited me on the sofa and retrieved the first aid kit. He knelt between my legs, cleaning the gravel out of my knee with gentle, precise movements. Austin, I said, watching him work. Why did you say again? He paused, the cotton swab hovering over my knee. He didn't look up. It felt like a nightmare. Watching you run into that street. You followed me. I wanted to make sure you got home safe. You were drinking. I love you, I blurted out. His hand slipped, pressing too hard on the cut. I hissed. Sorry, he muttered. He finally looked up. His eyes were dark pools of conflict. Don't say that. Why? Because you think I'm straight? Because you think I'm playing a prank. I reached out, cupping his face. I heard you, Austin. In the other timeline. Or the dream. Or whatever this is. I heard you crying over my photo. You said you loved me. He went rigid. You? What? I died, I said simply. That truck hit me. I was a ghost. I came to your room. I saw you kissing my picture. I saw you crying. I leaned closer, our noses touching. I came back for you, Austin. I was given a second chance, and I swore I wouldn't waste it fighting with you. That's impossible, he breathed, but hope was flaring in his eyes, warring with skepticism. Is it? Then explain why I know about the photo you keep in your nightstand drawer. The one from freshman year orientation. The one where I'm laughing and you're looking at me like I hung the moon. Austin closed his eyes, defeated. I thought you hated me. You were always so cruel. And Sarah. Sarah liked me, you idiot. I laughed, though tears were leaking from my eyes. She was always asking you about me. My favorite color, my favorite food. I was jealous because I thought she wanted you. She was trying to get to me through you. Austin stared at me. The realization dawned on his face slowly. She liked you. Yes. And I was a brat because I wanted your attention, and fighting was the only way to get it. I wrapped my arms around his neck. I am an Omega, Austin. And I am your Omega. If you want me. He didn't hesitate this time. He growled, a low, possessive sound that vibrated through my bones. He kissed me, and it wasn't gentle. It was acclaiming. It was years of pent-up desire and grief and rage finally breaking the dam. He lifted me off the sofa, carrying me to the bedroom without breaking the kiss. He threw me onto the bed, following me down instantly, his weight a heavy, comforting blanket. My knee, I gasped between kisses. I'll be careful, he promised, his voice rough. I'll be careful with everything else. But I need to feel you. I need to know you're real. He stripped off my shirt, his eyes devouring my skin. You're mine, Patrick. If this is a dream, don't wake me up. It's not a dream, I whispered, pulling him down to me. But you can bite me, just to be sure. He buried his face in my scent gland, his teeth grazing the sensitive skin. I love you, he groaned against my neck. I have loved you since we were 7 years old catching frogs. Took you long enough, I teased, arching into him as his hands began to explore. Now shut up and make up for lost time. The morning sun filtered through the curtains, blinding me. I stretched, wincing as my sore muscles protested, and not just from the truck accident. Austin was already awake, propped up on one elbow, watching me sleep. He looked younger, the weight of the world lifted off his shoulders. Hey, he whispered, brushing a stray hair from my forehead. Hey, I smiled, snuggling closer to his chest. Did I die? No, he said fiercely, tightening his arm around me. And you're never allowed to leave this apartment again. I'm wrapping you in bubble wrap. Kinky. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. He glanced at it. It's the police. They found the driver. He had a family emergency, but he turned himself in. I don't care, I mumbled into his chest. I'm alive. The kid is alive. You finally admitted you have feelings. Best death ever. Don't joke about that. He kissed the top of my head. Patrick, what if you hadn't come back? What if the other timeline was real? I looked up at him. Then you would have been miserable for a while. You would have been a grumpy, lonely old alpha. And then, eventually, you would have died, and I would have been waiting for you in the afterlife to kick your ass for taking so long. Austin chuckled, the sound rumbling through his chest. Yeah, that sounds like you. But we're here now, I said, tracing the line of his jaw. We have time. We have a lot of time, he agreed. He leaned down, capturing my lips in a slow, sweet kiss that promised forever. Get dressed. I'm taking you to breakfast. Can we stop by the temple? I asked. I want to say thank you. To who? To whoever sent me back. I grinned. And maybe buy a lottery ticket. I feel lucky. You've already used up all your luck, Austin said, climbing out of bed and pulling on his sweatpants. Maybe, I said, watching him with unabashed appreciation. But I got the prize. Later, walking hand in hand down the busy street, ignoring the stares of people wondering why the campus enemies were holding hands, I squeezed his fingers. Austin, yeah, I love you too. He stopped in the middle of the sidewalk, indifferent to the flow of traffic around us. He looked at me, his eyes shining with a warmth that melted the last of the ice around my heart. I know, he said. And then he kissed me, right there in front of God and everyone, sealing our second chance with a promise that this time, we'd get it right.